Here's the great thing about looking up stuff in Ancestry.com and stuff like that. When you're looking at people from long ago, they came via ship, and there's ship passengers lists that you can find. I'm pretty sure people in the future, when they're looking at people from now, are not going to be able to find passenger lists of planes, because there's jillions of planes every day as opposed to just a few ships, and there's no way that all the passenger lists of all the planes in all the land can possibly be, available. So I was able to find not just my mother's, the ship she came on and what date and everything like that, but like her luggage list. Thank you, past. So she came to America. She stepped foot in New York, and it was cold, and she went, "No, I don't think so." So she immediately went to California on the train, and she got off and saw the palm trees and went, "Yep, this is more like it." She had met a photographer, an American photographer, when she was working for the Army, and he said, "When you come to America, you can stay with me and my wife." And when she got there, he had broken up with his wife, but of course she couldn't stay with him. This was not a thing that was possible. So his ex or separated or whatever wife let this young Belgian woman stay with her, and she said she was super nice and very welcoming. And I say that lady was a good person, because it wasn't like the photographer and my mom were having an affair or anything like that at all. They were just friends. But I mean, you could easily assume that this rat you were divorcing was bringing this young Belgian chippy. But no chippy, not involved at all, just pals. So like I said, she came here to go to college. So she went to UCLA. And UCLA said to her, once you live in California for 6 months, you're a resident and college is free. So you should wait. And she did. But then, in the meantime, she ended up becoming a radio actress, and she never went to college. And how did she become a radio actress? Well, she was living with somebody. She was like staying with a friend, or a roommate, something, I don't know. And one day the phone rang, and she answered the phone with her French accent. And the person on the other end said, "Say, are you a radio actress?" And Mom said, yes, not being a radio actress, but she'd done acting in school plays, and she enjoyed it. And Carmen was an actress in theater, and so she was like, why not? And so she became a radio actress. And the thing is, because she had an accent, this meant that the first job she did, she had the lead. She was the starring role, because people, if you had an accent, you couldn't do everything. But when they wanted you, when they needed you, they needed you. And so I think it may have been Lux Radio Theater, and it was when Lux Radio Theater would do 1-hour versions of films, often with the stars playing the characters, but they played the movies. But whoever she was playing, the original person couldn't do it, and so she was the freaking lead in basically her first radio job. I don't know if this was the person on the phone or not, but Bryony Foy was her sort of mentor and helped her through with everything. Bryony, if you know the movie The Seven Little Foys, starring Bob Hope, Bryony Foy was one of the Foys. And he was in radio, and he was a lovely guy who helped her with everything and showed her what to do, especially since she started out as the lead. She didn't know what you were supposed to do if you just had a regular role and you weren't treated as the star and had a dressing room for radio. Yes, you did. if they were done in front of a studio audience, which I believe Lux certainly was. Anyway, and he got her in the union. And and he's like, you know what? If you're going to do this, you have to be a member of AFRA. Later AFTRA, but it was, I think it was, well, it may have been AFTRA at that time, because, yeah, I'm not sure. Anyway, and she was like, a union? Because, of course, she was Gilles' daughter, and Gilles, being a GM guy, I didn't mention this before, he had the only car salesmanship of GM cars in all of Belgium, I think. So he was the GM guy. So he was very important when it came to cars, and he was very anti-union. So she was like, a union? And he says, yeah, you got it. So she reluctantly, not realizing what a big favor he was doing her, getting her in, pulling strings. Of course, that's hilarious, because later on, my dad was a board member of SAG and AFTRA, and my mother worked with him on. She was not elected to the union, but she worked as a volunteer, and she and my dad started the casting committee with Marvin Kaplan. I could not remember his name. I literally known that man my whole life, and all of a sudden I was like, Martin? No, Marvin Kaplan, and my parents started the casting committee in the 1970s here in Los Angeles, and if it still exists, which I don't know if it does or not, you can thank my folks. Anyway, so she joined the union, and she was a radio actress, and I don't know where this story happened, because it was after she became an actress, but I think she was looking for a place to live, so it must have been, I don't know, it must have been that she was trying to find a permanent place to live, and she came across the Hollywood Studio Club, which is a very famous place where young ladies who were actresses could live and, not be on their own and be chaperoned and everything like that. And she called up the Hollywood Studio Club and said, I need a place to live. And they said, we have a long waiting list, and we really only let people in if they have no place else to go. And she said, I have no place else to go. I'm just here from Belgium. My parents are so worried about me, and I don't know, I'm all here all on my own. And they said, okay, you can come live here. And she was there with Kim Novak and Angie Dickinson and other people. I believe Marilyn Monroe lived there, but that was before my mom's time. But she was there. I've told the story before about Kim Novak. Her name was Marilyn. Her name was Marilyn Novak. And she lived at the Hollywood Studio Club. And one day she came home and she said, the studio wants me to change my name, because there's already Marilyn Monroe, and there can only be one Marilyn. I want to keep Novak. What should I have as a first name? And they all sat around the table thinking of names, and somebody came up with Kim, and Kim Novak says, yes, that's good. And if I have it changed officially, legally, I'll change it to Kimberly. And my mother tucked that name away. So that is why I am named after Kim Novak. Because my mom was there when she became Kim. Also, she helped Kim with her acting. She coached her and stuff before she went on a big audition, and she had her lie on the floor, petting a fur rug, and also one time she was going to the Oscars, and she heard something happened with her date, so my mom in her tiny little car drove Kim Novak in her beautiful gown to the Oscars. So as I said, mom's name was Gladys Edna Holland. In French, it's Gladys Edna Holland, which is a very beautiful name. Gladys Edna Holland is not. So she was horrified when she found out that was her name in American. So she said, well, there's nothing I can do about Gladys. But I can't stand Holland. Hollande. All right. I will change it to Ollande. And they'll say Hollande. And she went on an audition. And they said Gladys Hollande. And she changed it back.